Andreas. Welcome, welcome. Okay, we'll just get started in a few seconds here. Getting our recording set up.
We're squeezing in here.
Yeah.
I have all the space possible. Alrighty. Hello, Andres. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Strawbees PLAYINAR. My name is Lindsay from Strawbees Education with special guest Arkki International tuning in from Finland, who just in a moment will be introducing themselves. So just to give you a quick introduction to what the PLAYINAR is structured, this PLAYINAR is structured as a short presentation with Arkki International, who's also be leading you through a hands-on classroom experience where you can make along with us. But let's get to know you. So if Arkki International, can you present yourselves, names, please?
Hi, my name is Pihla Meskanen, and I'm one of the founders and CEO of Arkki International.
Hi, I'm Jere Keskinen, and I'm an architect and an educator in Arkki.
And hello, my name is Helena, and I work in communications and marketing.
Thank you. And we're very lucky to have this phenomenal team. So, I mean, even though Arkki International is based in Finland, they actually have a very wide influence around the world, but I don't want to spoil too much. I will let them go over it. I mean, it is a pleasure to have all three of you and many of your many teammates in the attendees here. So during the PLAYINAR, we have a lot to cover. So if you have questions, please let us know in the chat, and we'll take moments in between presentations and the workshop to answer them. So I'll be very proactive in the chat, but if we have questions directly for our friends at Arkki International, I will help chime in so they can understand and we can answer your questions. We will also have a Q&A at the very end of the PLAYINAR, so we'll also have more opportunities to ask some great questions because they have plenty of knowledge to share. If you are unable to create with us live, this video will also be recorded and published on the Strawbees Professional Learning YouTube channel, as well as the website for professional development at strawbees.com/professional development. And now I will hand it over to our friends at Arkki International to introduce to you their creative learning offering. Take it away.
Thank you, Lindsay. We're so happy to be here today. And I think Elena will start also joining the chat and answering the questions while Jere and I will be presenting. And first of all, we will tell some overview about Arkki activities during the past 26 years. So we will share the screen now and show some pictures and videos. So Arkki has been founded in 1993, and it was co-founded by 3 architects, my mother, one of them, and one of my colleagues as well. And why we started was interesting moment in history, because in Finland, the government decided that architecture should be also included in the national core curriculum of basic art education. So in Finland, we have a system that we have a national core curriculum for after-school education as well. So our program is an after-school program for children, but we still follow the national curriculum for architecture. And we have a program that starts from 4 years old, and the children can continue all the way up to the end of the high school, which means here in Finland, it's 19 years old. So our program is 15 years, and the basic program is around 1,300 hours. And then we have theme courses, about like 400 hours as well. So there's quite a lot of things that pupils can choose from. And the basic idea is that we use architecture to combine different subjects. So it's STEAM education through architecture and design. Because architecture is interdisciplinary, so it's very easy and natural to combine different subjects through architecture. And also because we use active learning, project-based learning, design thinking, different things. So continuing and following the program, it supports the development of innovation skills, creativity, and such 21st century skills. So what is creativity? Always, there is, of course, many different definitions. But if you go back to the inside the people or humans, it's something that happens inside the brain. So it's connections, new connections between old knowledge. So creativity is something that we can practice, but it's also something that is individual, because it's making new combinations of existing knowledge. But existing knowledge is always personal. It depends on the person and their background and their history. So creativity for a person is something, it's new to the person. It doesn't have to be new to the world. So I think this is, as for teachers, it's a very important thing to consider, because many times as adults, we have seen a lot of things, but for children, many things are new. So sometimes we fail to see the creativity happen, because for us it might not be new, but for the children it's something really new. So what we focus in is that train and practice and use the higher order thinking skills, which we think that it has a nice name, because you can call it the hot skills as well. So creating and evaluating and applying. Whereas the old school system has more focused on the remembering and rote learning. So we think that through architecture education, we can also make a lot of use of the higher order thinking skills, which helps the children in every field of life. So as creativity is the highest skill of humans, so we can show some examples how we are training, how we are doing peer learning, how we are doing playful learning, how different projects we can do to enhance creativity in different ways. So here is a picture of hut building camp. This is one of the traditional theme courses that we have been running for 27 years, I think now. And it has been joined by like more than 20,000 children within these 26 years. And building huts, it's learning in one-to-one scale, because it's something that you build that you can go also inside. And there's a lot of things that the children learn at the same time. They learn about different cultures. They learn about different building methods. They learn about how to use different tools and make knots and do teamwork, collaborate, plan, and also some persistence, because you have to finish the project together. And here are some other examples of workshops, city planning, examples of different three-dimensional thinking projects, using different materials, studying the structures, studying the light, studying colors, experimenting with different materials, training or trying or practicing design thinking, and making new innovations of recycled materials, for example, like in this case. And also, while doing design or while practicing design thinking, also taking other things into consideration, like sustainability, reuse, recycling. And here you can see a fashion design workshop, but this is also reusing old clothes. So it's recycling and upcycling. And of course, it's beautiful to show your own creation on the red carpet at the end, and really have a possibility for the children to get appreciation, and the parents to see what the children have been working on. Here is an example of a city, a planning, a team, a group workshop. And if you look closer, you can see that all this city has been made from recycled materials. So I just want to show this picture, because I think it's important point as that at the same time as you do something, you can also have something, other things like a hidden agenda in between. So we try to use a lot of recycled materials to wake up this kind of thinking that you can reuse materials, you can save materials, and you can be innovative with old materials, and you don't have to throw them away, but you can find many new ways to use them. And that's something I think it's a good feedback that we get from the parents, that after the children join our workshops, then they cannot throw anything in the trash anymore, because everything is valuable building material and it's good for constructing houses and cities, and something for the pets perhaps. And of course, collaboration, one of the 21st century skills, is something that the children learn naturally within the project work if they work in teams. Here on the other side, you have also a teacher's workshop. And the bigger picture is from Vietnam. It's a big workshop in the school. And the theme in this one was ornament, geometric ornament. And here is another big collaboration teamwork with 600 children, about a big city with houses that are made from old boxes, shoe boxes and such. So we don't want to tell the children what is the correct answer or what to think. So we think that it's good for them to find out. So how to think, not what to think. And our motto is play, create, and succeed. So we believe that if you love what you're doing, you learn better. If there is play is like a normal way for us to live, and it's more even for children it's more natural, but also for adults, if we are designers or if we are in the creative field, play is a way to be creative. And succeed means that we want to encourage the children to be creative and be brave, be different, have different ideas, and always not let them or put them down, even if they do something that doesn't meet the criteria of adults. But now we're talking about meeting the criteria, individual criteria, and supporting each child and different learners as well. During the past spring, we had to move online, which is not natural for us, because if you see the projects, it's very much group work, hands-on, real life. But we realized online projects, and we translated them into 8 different languages. Our friends and colleagues helped us to do it. And at the end, we had 4 children joining these projects from 43 different countries. So we were very happy that we could offer some workshop instructions online, so that children could participate from their homes all around the world. Then we have another program which we're actually launching next week. And this one is for teachers. It's for the school. And as the previous, our bigger program is meant to be taught by architects and designers. This one is a phenomenon-based learning program for teachers. So it's based on the national curriculum of Finland, and it's a cross-curricular program integrating different subjects according to the Finnish curriculum. So there is different phenomenal units for every grade, and even though it's meant for grade 1 in Finland, then we suggest that it might be for primary grade 1 or grade 2 in different countries, and teachers can check in the curriculum that if it's equivalent to their curriculum in different countries. And this program also uses active learning, architecture and design projects as cross-curricular subjects, and combining through art, combining through architecture, and combining through design projects. And here I have one short video of, this is grade 7, grade 6. And this is part of the project which is studying structures. So now it's testing. So each group is, as a team, they are preparing their own model, and at the end, each team is testing, and there is some loading and counting and maths involved. How much, what is the, how strong is the structure, and this is part of the learning process, testing it as well. So in the creative classroom, there is like step-by-step guidelines for the teachers and instructions, and also ready-made inspirational lectures, what to use to introduce the different subjects to the children. And it's based mostly on pictures, and the material is all in English. But the material that is meant for children is based on pictures, so it doesn't require any reading. So then our third program, this is the last one I will introduce, and then afterwards I will turn the word to Jere, and he will start showing you hands-on how to do Artbots. So this is the third big thing that we have been doing for more than 15 years. We have a lot of different projects where we help children participate in real life city planning, smaller planning projects, maybe making a playground, maybe making an interior. And since 2007, we have been working together with Helsinki Urban Planning Office, and we have realized like 14 different programs. Where this is one of the biggest ones. It's a urban new area for 5,000 people, new area for in the middle of Helsinki. And in this project, there were 100 participating children, and then they proposed this model, this idea, this plan, their idea to the city council. And actually this was an open competition. So some architects participated and children participated, and then all the citizens could vote what answers or what solutions they liked about this. So many of the children's solutions will be visible in the next years as well. This is a similar project that has been done in Thailand, in Bangkok, in the central area of Bang Sue. And this was also a great collaboration between the parliament, the police, and local citizens. Even the temple area was involved, and the children were proposing some improvements along the riverbank. Here you can see some of the team presenting in the parliament. And this is a project we did 2 years ago with our Arkki Vietnam team. So they involved 300 local children to design and propose ideas for the new area in the middle of Ho Chi Minh City, the capital in Vietnam. And some of the children use traditional methods like modeling and hands-on work to present their ideas for the new housing area, or big area. There's more than other things than housing as well. And some of the students use SketchUp computer program to present their ideas. And Jere was actually the one who was training there in Ho Chi Minh City and running the first courses. And after that, there was 300 children participating in groups of 12 children for 1 week each. And actually, we are very happy that we got last year the UNICEF prize for this one, and in the category of meaningful child participation. So it was really an honor for us and for the Vietnam team. And we believe that creativity is for everyone. It doesn't have to be that the children become designers. I think everybody can use innovation skills and creativity in their future life. And now we go to the straw bees and Arkki part. What can we do with this wonderful straw bees material?
May I ask a question really quickly? We have a question from Carlos that before we get started, because I'm really excited But we have like a question that's about how does your program adapt in the COVID times? Because they see a lot of cooperation and team activities. So what are things that you have done to help with that, since you want collaboration intentionally as part of your learning offering?
Yeah, so we've had to move online. So it's a bit similar like this PLAYINAR. So teaching and collaboration is happening online.
Okay.
After restrictions as well, of course.
Yeah, we have had like online classes and then instructing pupils with like messages and sending video instructions. But I think the best way to collaborate is to have this kind of video chat or meeting if you can't see each other in person.
And Elena can share the link to this online material that I mentioned, that we shared some instructions in 8 different languages, and it's free for everyone to use. And we had participants from 43 different countries, which we are very happy. But that was more not like more individual instructions and not participation as a group. So everybody can do it at their own time.
Okay, great. And we have another question in the chat. So they're curious about, they love the developments, and they're wondering, can you also get into school spaces with the programs and projects that you have? So like you have a lot of your programs that are aligned with Finnish curriculum standards, and you are able to actually launch these programs inside a school, you know, maybe pre-COVID.
Yeah. The Creative Classroom program is meant for all teachers, and it has been tested in Finland for 10 years. So it has a different name here in Finland, but the materials have been available for teachers online to use. And then the other program, the after school program, we also do in schools, but then we send an architect teacher to the different schools to do the after school program.
Wow, that sounds like a really fun job, actually. Just based off all the great projects that you've just shared and all the photos, I would love to be that architect teacher. So we have one more question, and then we'll go into the workshop, if that's okay. So Chris is asking, how do you get the materials to the students? Probably in pair with the online learning experiences that you have.
So our program was not originally meant to be online. So when COVID happened, then we just had to like improvise. So in Finland, basically children have a lot of materials and they use the recycled materials at home, because for us it's easy to know what kind of things people have at home. But our partners, for example, in Thailand and Vietnam, they send material boxes to the pupils' home. So for each project or different project, they send the necessary materials to the pupils. Okay. And then followed by the video chats and meetings and instructions.
Wonderful. Sounds like you are coping really well.
I think everybody had to.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you for answering those questions. So we'll go ahead and get started with the workshop, and we'll set the rest of the questions for the last 15 minutes.
Yes. All right.
Yeah. Did you, Lindsay, want to show your
the strawberry
structure before we start?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. So what I wanted to share is kind of like a precursor with strawberries that for many of you that maybe aren't aware of strawberries, maybe it's your first time, we create these like small flexible connectors. Some are color coded that have different colored different number of legs, and you can use them to build basically geometric structures. But of course, it's not just like, you know, a pyramid. It actually can transform into anything. So what I wanted to share is like, you know, this is like one of the most basic structures that you'll see throughout most strawberries projects. This is a pyramid, or also what we like to call a tetrahedron. But it's not just a pyramid or tetrahedron. It can be a hat. It can be a robot. So you can actually, and one of the featured microcontrollers that we're going to be using is a Quirkbot, which is basically a rechargeable battery-based microcontroller that you can upload. And it also comes with these small plastic pieces that you can use as connectors. And in a way, the Quirkbot is also just like a strawberries connector. So you can easily snap it into the tetrahedron and then create a very simple robot. So one of our very classic, most, actually probably our most popular project with the Quirkbot is the robot racer activity, where you can create a very basic robot structure that can crawl across the table or the floor. You can create a large race. But what Arkki is going to show is actually a really interesting iteration, which is something we haven't explored yet. So I'm really excited to see how they create robot Artbots. That's basically, it's very similar to how we do with the robot racer. So I will let you take it over. Let's get started.
Yeah, great. Thank you. That was nice to see, because I think when we first got into robotics and coding, we didn't really know much about it. But as you saw from Pihla's presentation, we do all kinds of creative projects and things at Arkki. And we started or decided to look into it and found straw bees and started experimenting with straw bees, and then created our own Arkkibotics or robotics and coding projects and workshops. And I'm going to show you some of our projects. So here you can see the kind of same tetrahedron that Lindsay showed you, that we used as a base for this kind of drawing robot, where we explore coding and art and try to visualize a little bit how coding works, what is it, where can you find it, and this is based on this robot racer structure, but then we attached a marker or pencil. We tried different things to the structure, and then put it on kind of a bit paper and explore what kind of drawings this kind of robot makes. I'm gonna put this on so we get to see a little bit. I forgot to take the lid off. Okay, and now let's see what happens. So we started making different kind of drawing robots, and I think it's really nice to see or visualize kind of the code. And this is one of the first projects we do with the pupils. So they get to know a little bit different straw-based coding and how you can do it and test and experiment themselves. And then when we put the robots on this kind of paper and look at the different kind of patterns they make, we get to see the coding sort of visualized or on paper or in action. And I've made a couple of different drawing robots today that I can show you. So basically you can start with any kind of structure and think of different kind of ways you can attach the markers here. This is kind of a cube, and then it has some, maybe these are eyes, I think, and then the marker is here behind it. And let's see what kind of pattern this one makes on the paper. Yeah.
These drawings kind of remind me of a spiral graph.
Yeah. And then with the pupils as well, we everybody makes their own kind of drawing robot. and then we can make first experiment with like on individual papers, but then move on to experiment together and see what kind of drawings the robots can make on a big paper together. And here's another one that has actually 3 markers attached to it.
And this idea actually came from the children from the first course or the second course.
Yeah, in one of our workshops, they started to add markers everywhere on the robots and got even more interesting patterns on this paper. And this one you actually have to start.
It's like a grasshopper. Now it hopped off from the picture, so you need to.
Have you ever tried to put multiple Quirkbots on a single robot? Sam was asking that.
In another project, but not in the drawing robot. Yeah.
Gotcha. Would you say like having 2 Quirkbots on a single drawing robot would be too much?
No, it's worth testing. Yeah, it's worth testing. Here, this one we made for like 10-year-old. We thought that this would be like the first project that they would start to learn about the variables, because it's easy to test and change it, and then immediately it visualizes when you change the variables. Then you can see it visually how it affects the painting or drawing. But then again, in Thailand, the participants were 5- and 6-year-old, but they were perfectly capable of doing this. So I think it's a nice thing to try and test. And having the 2 Quirkbots for that age group, I don't think it's very easy, maybe.
Yeah, I think the 2 Quirkbots we used, if needed, sort of. For example, if somebody wanted to have 2 motors in one structure or one robot, and the cords didn't sort of were not long enough to fit in one Quirkbot. So, for example, then we might have used 2 Quirkbots to get that kind of thing working.
I have to say, I really like the red one looking through the camera. It kind of makes me think about trying to shade with a color pencil. You know how you have like the dark to slowly light and gradient? There's a very nice gradient to it.
Yeah.
And I think it's really like captivating when you start testing, and then to be able to have this kind of texture or line that you're looking for. It's quite a complicated. Oh, now one of the robots hopped off from the table on the floor. I think it had in the code. Did it have the something like a change, like this change, random change? Probably. Yeah. The random one is jumping everywhere.
And I think it's really nice to try to like sort of analyze these patterns and kind of think how they are related to the code. For instance, this one looks like a really jumpy and erratic robot, and I don't know, the red one seems kind of calm and irregular. And then it's nice to talk with the kids and try to like describe it. The robot or the pattern looks happy, or does it look calm, or does it look like it's in a hurry or something? So I think it's really nice way to kind of try to visualize and talk about the coding.
Do you find when students work in teams, do they make like greater collaborative art design?
Yeah, and I think in this project, for example, it's really nice to work in teams because at least for me, teaching code and working with the kids was a lot about like experimenting and trying out things and just like learning by doing. And the pupils and the kids were like helping each other out and doing things together, which was really nice. So I think, yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of potential for math also to be taught as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's nice because it's like the robot racer. This one is also quite a quick thing that immediately when you change something, you can immediately see the different results. So it seemed to be like the children were really, really enthusiastic and they would never want to stop. We did this for 2 hours and then they didn't want to go home.
A good problem to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So of course there is kind of this a lot of randomness. So that's maybe one of the interesting things here, and a lot of then trial and error if you try to understand how you can receive what you want to while changing the code.
Yeah. And also I think that drawings that the robots create sort of sometimes might visualize the seeming randomness that if you look at the robot, you might think that it's doing just some random movement, but then if you look at the pattern, you can actually see that it's, for example, very regular, that it makes some kind of jig or has a certain rhythm or a pattern. So I think that's really interesting to also try to analyze and see.
Okay, and maybe you can show, because it depends also, it affects also on what point you attach this. So if you attach it higher or lower, it also changes the movement as well.
Yeah, because there's a lot of like different things we can change to sort of change the drawing or the pattern that the robot is creating. So you can change the code, or then you can change the structure and make it like, for example, move the place of the motor, and then it might be moving in an entirely different way and creating a new kind of pattern or drawing. So I think it's really...
So I'll just take the camera and fly again to show what the one robot is doing. It's going outside the picture.
Drawing outside the box. Do you find with coding, do you do pre-programmed Quirkbots for ages like 6 and under?
No, we actually let them do it. So we use the overhead projector and explain, like Jere explains what is the meaning of the variable and how to do it, and they do it themselves.
Yeah, I have found that it's good to sort of go through the basic things together first, and then, for example, build the code together as a group, that you show the pupils how the basic code is built. And then once they have figured it out and managed to do the basic code, for example, for this kind of drawing robot, then they can start experimenting and changing the variables and parameters and just testing and experimenting. And I think that has worked really well with also really young children.
I guess we could show some pictures of what the children did before our robots are all running away, because they're very naughty robots. They are going everywhere.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of good questions in the chat. So I think I'm going to try to save some of them closer to the end, but that's why I'm like asking a few questions in the middle of this naughty robot demonstration.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of curiosity. Actually, one comment that I found really interesting is somebody was mentioning about, there's another Artbot classic activity, which maybe you might recognize with the DC motor, where it's kind of like constantly rotating, and it's kind of like perpetual motion to move the robot. But I think a lot of people really love your activity, your Artbot activity, because you have control over the motion and the art, pattern making.
Yeah, the aim in this workshop is to understand variables. So Jere will now share some pictures, and then we will explain that we also use some other techniques and not only this testing for the children to get their first understanding of computational thinking. So this project, we thought that it's very good to understand how variables change the movement. So that's what we tried to teach here. And also we use some other methods as well.
Yeah. So we made a sort of a theme course or a course about this kind of archbotics that lasts for a week. So we have a lot of different kind of projects and we're trying to explore computational thinking and through different like projects and activities. And it was really nice to also see, or interesting to see how the skills needed in coding and computational thinking are very much alike are like normal projects that we already have done with kids, like creativity and collaboration and communication and these kind of things. And for example, in this project, we talk about patterns, and this one was called building code. So we're exploring facades of buildings and trying to find patterns in them. Maybe you can even see some patterns in this facade. What kind of similarities does the different houses have in this facade? Can Lindsay or someone find some pattern in this facade?
Let's see. I see a tire print or some sort of, I see a tree pattern. I see bricks.
Yeah, great. So for example, here you have the green roofs that are all the same in the buildings, and you have brick facades. So in this project, we first let the pupils think of kind of building rules, 3 different like building rules that they have to use in a building facade. And then they gave the rules to other pupils who then made the facades. And then we tried to guess together what were the rules in the different kind of facades. So this project was kind of practicing finding regularities or patterns in facades, but that's also something that's really useful when you're coding or creating programs. So that was just an example of another project we had during the whole week. And then next I'm going to talk a little bit about the drawing robot project, and then also explain how we continued this project into the next project. So it was like a part of a bigger project. And we did this also with really small kids, and it went quite well. They coded themselves with the flow programming on Strabi's site. And we first built the code together, and then the kids continued experimenting and trying out and like changing the code and seeing how it affects the robots.
So basically they used the computer room to do the coding, and then they moved on the floor where we had huge papers on the floor. So they do the testing, and after that they come back to the computer, and then they adjust and change the variables to change the results, and then they go to test again.
And then we studied and tested what kind of patterns the robots make. And then in the end of the project, we used this kind of really big paper where everybody put their drawing robots together and created a kind of huge artwork together. And here are some more pictures of different drawing robots and different kind of patterns we managed to create and explore.
And during this workshop, because they wanted to have more results, bigger and more drawings, so that's why they started attaching more and more pencils or markers to get more drawing and different colors at the same time.
Yeah, and here is just a picture of the Strawberries flow code that we used for the drawing robot. It's the basically same kind of code that is used for the robot racer. So it's really simple with the flow programming, and with the younger pupils, we just practice to open the site and then to find and drag the right components here or the right blocks, and then explaining that these are like different variables that they can change and that affects the code and then creates different kind of patterns. So that was basically our movement and patterns. So that's how we did the coding with the kids. And here's just another example of actually this robot's code, this little one, which has been made with block programming, and there's some like randomizers in there, so the code is a bit different. And I also added a sensor there, so it started with touch sensor, so you have to touch one of the arms for it to start moving, and then it will move for a certain amount of time in a bit randomized way, and then when it stops you have to again press again, which one is it, that one, and then it'll start moving again. And here's a video of one workshop with the robots together on the big paper creating kind of robot artwork. I like the black one in the corner. It looks like it's on a hurry somewhere. And next we use kind of this kind of big robot drawing also for the next project. So always in our project, we like to inspire the pupils and show some inspirational pictures. For example, here are some interesting and inspirational pictures about playgrounds, all kind of different playgrounds, what you can imagine, made out of ice or totally in the air with some nets, or really colorful ones. And even if we can go outside in the beginning of the class or do some excursion to a playground and explore some really nice playground with the kids in the start of the project. So in this next project, we use the robot drawing and create a playground out of it. So this is kind of twist that the pupils are not expecting, maybe, that they don't know beforehand, and get the challenge that they have to work together and collaborate to create a kind of playground map out of this robot drawing. And we had some like basic rules that that the lines that the robots have created on the paper cannot be changed or moved, so you can't create new lines, but you have to move or use this kind of map legend or colors that we decided together to plan a playground area on this map. And here you can see, for example, that we had yellow as wood, green as vegetation or plants, and blue as water, and red as this soft rubbery playground material. And then the pupils had to work together and try to discuss which areas on the map or the drawing should be what material or what area on the playground map. And I think it was a really interesting project because the pupils had to really talk and discuss and sort of decide how they were going to do the painting or the planning. And I think it was a little bit slow at first, but then when the pupils got really into it, they liked the planning a lot and created their own play area out of the robot drawing. And then after the playground map was ready, we continued the project with playground machines where we used two different kind of motors, this kind of servo motor that we used here in the robot drawer as well, but then this rotational motor as well. And here are some codes of this kind of playground machine. So two different kind of motors, but pretty simple code as well. I think this project was more about problem solving in a way that how can we create the structure that will work for this kind of machine.
And it was the wildest playground ever. It was like the wildest amusement park ever.
Yeah, and here are some pictures and videos from the playground.
So then these different equipment, they had their place, their specific places in the plan, in the legend of that was designed for these elements. So this was a teamwork of 2 pupils each. And this was really about experimenting and innovating and trying out the different movements, combining 2 different movements. And it's really, I think there is probably endless possibilities if you use several motors.
Yeah.
So I think we are kind of running out of the time at the moment. So we still have time for the questions.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, thank you for sharing the wealth of resources. I think quite a few individuals really loved, a lot of people are very inspired by the projects your children are creating, but you as a whole, your education team, everything that you're about.
Thank you.
So, I mean, it's worth it. I mean, it's absolutely worth it. And, you know, you inspired me so much that I created kind of my own little Artbot.
Whoa.
Wow.
My simple little guy, which I know we don't have too much time to look into, but I had a lot of fun, you know, kind of creating and making. I had a watercolor one, but then it got a little disastrous and wet and it didn't quite work how I wanted. But, you know, another thing that I wanted to try again was putting the Q-tips on the end of my Artbot. But I feel very inspired by the many activities that you have shared with all of us. So actually quite a few attendees are asking, are you willing to share some of the videos? We understand that maybe you can't share pictures of children, but maybe some of the more project-based ones at the very least.
Yeah, sure. And we already have some in the website and in our YouTube. But yeah, sure, we can share the ones that are not showing too many children.
Yeah, definitely. And also on our Instagram, Arkki International, you can also find some pictures and videos.
Okay, great. So I think maybe we have time for maybe one or two questions. So I think I want to ask a pretty big one, which is, so how many of us are in the education sectors? Many of our attendees are educators, school teachers in K-12. And many of us have also heard of the country of Finland being ranked as one of the best education systems in the world. And your programs are approved by the Finnish Ministry of Education. So we're kind of wondering what makes Finnish education so good? Like, why do you think Finland is ranked very highly?
Just a small question for us.
I know it's a big one, but I think many of us are thinking about it at the very least.
Yeah. I think there is several different factors to it, of course, but maybe one of it is the high education of teachers. The teacher education is 6 years. And what is interesting is that it's one of the most sought after studies. So it's as difficult to get in to study to become a teacher as it is to become a lawyer. So it's very appreciated. And that's why I think it's one of the reasons. The other is that teachers have a lot of freedom. So we have the national curriculum, but each school and each teacher has also freedom to teach in a different way and experiment if they want to. So they can, as long as they meet the national curriculum, they can do it any way, basically they want to. So there is a lot of trust. Then there is inclusion and equality. So mostly we include all different learners in the same school and even in the same groups. So other children support the others. And what else? I think participation and teamwork and student agency is also one important thing that all schools have, like, of course, maybe everywhere else too, but students are involved and they have student councils and they have a say. And also in the phenomenon-based and project-based projects, the children are making decisions and they are getting their voices heard, and so they are like taking active learnership, active, what is it in English? Active agency would be probably the right word.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think the national curriculum is really good, the new one, because it's not aiming only for the traditional knowledge, but it's actually aiming for creating wide, broad-based citizens. So it's also aiming for transversal skills, very much for the 21st century skills, and not only focusing on memorizing and subject matters.
So, like, how is learning documented, like with assessment?
There's a lot of different assessments, and maybe you have heard that we don't give grades until like grade 4. So there is a lot of self-assessment, peer assessment, and usually it's done so that the student is doing self-assessment, the teacher is doing similar assessment, and then together with the parent, the teacher, and the student, it's kind of gone through and like the main thing is to support the child in the learning and to see which are the strong parts and which parts need support. So it's like a group work with the family and the teacher and the child.
Wow, I wish I grew up in Finland, because no grades till 4th grade, really?
Mm.
Wow. I mean, I think many of us can all agree that I think we understand why education in Finland is so phenomenal. And many of us probably wish we taught there.
Welcome.
So well done, Arkki International. And actually, one more question I have for you is, how many sites do you have? Because you have Arkki International, Arkki Finland. What's the total number of sites that you have?
Is it 7 or 8? So we have China, Vietnam, Thailand, Greece, Cyprus, Czech Republic, Finland, of course, and Arkki International. And
do you plan to expand even more, like maybe in the United States or more in Australia?
Yeah, why not?
Exactly. I think the world needs more Arkki.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Of course. And all right, one more last question, and then we'll close out the PLAYINAR. I mean, it's a good thing to have all these questions. our attendees are just very curious. Where can people find information for training for teachers? Do you have teacher training resources available or some courses online?
Yeah, maybe it's better that we share them because we have a lot. As Finland, Finnish education is very gathers interest. So there is a lot. We have different universities and we have different companies. So maybe we can collect some links and share. It's probably the easiest way.
I agree. So then we'll focus on collecting all the wealth of resources based off the questions, links shared in the chat, and we'll put it into the Google Slides. So we have reached the end of our really wonderful PLAYINAR. So thank you, Arkki International, for joining us. I mean, Javier, we really loved the Artbots. Pila, we really loved like the wealth of knowledge. You have a really great, phenomenal presentation, especially with all the children, because I think many of us, you know, the Artbots alone are a really great project, but actually seeing it applied in your creative spaces and courses and workshops, I think is the most important factor for many of us, so we can start to imagine how we can implement these Artbots. So, you know, I invite everyone that has attended this PLAYINAR, whether you are live in the recording or post-recording, to try it out. And let us know. You can email me at lindsay@strawbees.com and send me some photos or share on the Strawbees Educators Facebook group some great art projects. But thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you at the next PLAYINAR. So again, check out for more PLAYINARs on strawbees.com/professional development webpage. Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.